Alrighty, good morning everybody. Happy Friday. It's August 4th, 2023. Finishing out this first week of August. And a little bit of a disaster yesterday, I do have to say. Given that the market was still really heavy with the expectation to push lower, the market didn't quite do much of anything, right? So let's go ahead and jump back to yesterday. I'm not going to pull up the high time frames. I'm not going to spend too much time here. So the idea was everything was still pointing for the bears yesterday. There were no clear signals from any of the high time frames for a potential bullish push. And then here's what happened. So the market opened, and it just literally went sideways. And there's no way to really avoid these type of days. They happen pretty often. And that's why we talked about easy day, hard day a couple weeks ago. When the market is tough and it's not following through in any specific direction, then that's, probably a hint to walk away for the day. But let's take a look. So market open here right around this vertical line. Again, went sideways here, didn't really do much of anything. It came right up to the holy orange power level here. This would have been a good short opportunity. Again, whether or not you would have been a bear, given that it was just kind of chopping and you didn't see what was going to happen next here, I don't know. It came right to the scaffolding and the VWAP, pulled back, and then it held the 200 and bounced up. But that right there was a beautiful hold, less than a 2-point break of the Hopel, and you would have caught basically the biggest sell-off of the morning. We pushed to a lower low, so the expectation for a push lower did occur. However, look what happened. We broke the low of the morning only by about 2 points, so we pushed to a lower low for the day, but then it just popped right back up, right? So it was just kind of a bit of a disaster. There were some really nice holds. So again, if you caught the Hopel, that would have been a beautiful trade, about 20 points lower, give or take, right? You could have shorted the back end of the 200 as the market was failing back down. That would have given you some decent trades. But then it turned around and came all the way back up, rode the fast moving average, came up right into the low of the day before there, pulled back and held the 200, and then tried to continue to push, pulled back, held the top end of the holy orange power level with a few ticks of heat there, and even arguably the 200 again. Basically, you had your first test of the 200, second test, and then if you really zoom in and look, there's your third test nearly to the tick. And then it pushed a little bit higher. And then this really probably would have been the second sexiest trade you could have tried. First would have been shorting the Hopel with the bearish bias, expecting a lower push. The second would have been the test of our scaffolding level to the tick here, for again trying to see if this was just a kind of a in-breath for the bears to regain strength and push lower, right? So there were two really nice discrete holds that I would have liked, but overall just kind of a total mess. And as you can see, it pulled back from the scaffolding to the tick and then just went sideways into the end of the day. There were some nice parries right off the 200, or off the fast moving average. Just give me 1 second here. There were some good parries here overall, but just kind of, not my kind of trading day. So that wraps up the review from yesterday. Again, some decent holds in some areas, but overall, no real nice direction or good push. Now, at the end of the day, just kind of as an interesting observation here, if you did measure the leg up from the low of the day all the way up, basically the weekly low, all the way up to the high of the day there, we did come down and pop right off the 61.8 retrace of that leg. It didn't quite work with the 30. 38 didn't quite work right around the 50, but came right into the 61. And again, within 2 or 3 ticks or a point, went ahead and bounced. And that was the end of the day there. And at the end of the day, got a nice little attempt by the bulls to continue to push higher and got a new high for the day. So it was all over the place. And that's just how the market can be. Still, as a scalper, there were plenty of opportunities to trade the FMA, trade some of the levels we have, but is what it is. So coming into last night, if you were having trouble in yesterday's session, there was a decent opportunity as the market started to trend out of the open of the Globex session. You did have that pullback right to VWAP. How many Globex sessions do we see this type of setup where the market pulls back to VWAP and literally rides it multiple times? So there were some great opportunities, and I think I pointed this out a couple days ago, that if the market is a little funky for the day, maybe you should walk away. And sometimes when you come into Globex, you get some really great opportunities. I could probably scroll back here and look at the Globex sessions for the last couple weeks, and we would see, again, these beautiful holds right off the 200, right off the VWAP in so many cases that this should start to become something you might want to consider playing when the Globex session opens here. So beautiful, and it was even like a really sexy, perfect retracement to the 50% right off VWAP there. And then the second test here was, I believe, just about a 38% retracement to the tick, right? And we've looked at a setup very similar to this on multiple days, right? Pulled back to the 50 and the confluence of the 50 and the VWAP, bam, right off of it to the tick. And then as we push to to extend that leg out, comes right to the 38 and the VWAP again, right? And then as it parries off there, we hold the FMA and go ahead and continue to push. So there were some decent things in the overnight session. And of course, after that, as we got into the middle of the night here, where hopefully everybody was asleep, it didn't really do anything too impressive, but came up to try and test the high of the day before there, and it failed by a tick or two, and then started to sell off. And now here, this is the news event this morning. We had, I believe, non-farm payroll, which is the first Friday of every month. And as you can see, didn't really go anywhere, and we're continuing to chop around inside of yesterday's price action here. So nothing too sexy out of the news event. We did hold below the VWAP, come down, and then bounce right off our scaffolding level nearly to the tick there. In fact, I believe it was one tick off, so came right into the scaffolding. And now here we are coming into the open, and we're right back getting trouble right at the scaffolding level at the top end. So that's where we're at right now. And like I said, we're trading and chopping around inside of all this garbage from yesterday. So let's go up to the high time frames, see if they give any type of clear picture as we come into the open here. And give me a second. Every day can't be picture perfect. Surely you're starting to see some days are just unbelievably perfect. Other days are just kind of a little messy. So coming into this morning,